a sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Well, my guest today is a musical performer. He's a percussionist, songwriter, and probably a whole bunch of other things that we'll get into. Time to meet C.C. Brooks. Welcome to the show, C.C.
Thank you for having me, Nancy.
Now, I know your name is, your full name is Craig Cameron, correct?
Yes, but I perform under the name C.C. Brooks. That was my father's moniker as a child in a small town in northern British Columbia, and that's what he was known as. He was a realtor, and it was called C.C. Brooks Realty. And throughout the years, that initial is carried through to even my son is Connor Charles Brooks. He's also a professional musician. He's C.C. Brooks, and I have a dog named Clarence Clemens. Oh yeah, it's a thread.
but it's C.C. Brooks has a really nice sound. You know,
it's just something that I identify with that kind of changes my personality actually a little bit. It's my performance title, and it just allows me to be that person.
Yeah, for sure. That's really good. So let's talk about, because I was reading your bio and I find it fun. I love people's bios. When you first started your musical career, or before it was a career, actually, when you first get into music?
Yeah, my parents insisted that everybody in our family take 5 years of piano, and that was just something my father really wanted for us. And my father wasn't musical at all, but my mother was very musical. Piano player, guitar player. She danced in production shows, and she did makeup for theater. So so everybody had to have 5 years. And then when I was about 11, I got a set of drums for Christmas, and I hadn't even asked for them. My father had kind of imagined that the family would all play instruments, and we had a big wall, and the drums were set up right in the living room and next to the piano. And yeah, so that just kind of occurred. And then when I was about 14, I got asked by a couple of older gentlemen from England that were living in my hometown if I would play in a bar 6 nights a week. And so when I was 14, my mother would drive me to this bar every night from 7 till 11, and I would play country music for months at a time. 6 days on, 1 day off. Couldn't even be in the bar. I had to sit on the stage all night long. And so when my father wondered why I decided to become a professional musician, I kind of went, well, you know, why did mom drive me down there all those days if you didn't think that was going to happen? But so yeah, I got an early injection into it, then hit the road as soon as I graduated and did it most of my life.
So now currently, what are you? Are you in a band? Are you a solo performer?
Currently, I'm a solo performer. I play for other people as well if they need me to, because I was a professional drummer my whole life. But 7 years ago, I brought my wife down to Nashville for the first time, and I'd been there 2 times before, recording a couple albums as a drummer and a songwriter. And as those sort of things fizzled out, and everybody started to get, well, I always call it wives and lives, and you know, kids are growing up, and they just couldn't commit to it. So I thought, well, I need to do this on my own, so that if I do get an opportunity to do it, it'll be my decision whether I'm going to sacrifice something or not, and not to have to ask other people to do so. So we went down there 7 years ago. We got down to Broadway, ran into a bunch of old friends I knew, and my wife went back to the hotel room and called a realtor, and within a year we had a house in Nashville. And so we traveled down there. I'm actually there today, and I'm leaving today back to Canada. But we travel down there when we can. My last recordings were done down in Franklin, and we call it our second home, and truly an inspirational thing for me. So now I'm a solo singer songwriter, and I travel around with my guitar and play for anybody that'll listen.
Okay, so when did you switch from the drums to the guitar, or you still do both, I guess?
Yeah, I do both. And I was, like I said, I learned to play piano. I was learning to play guitar when I got the drum kit. So I've been able to play all of them my whole life. And but when the band, like I say, about 9 years ago, when the band things kind of stopped, I grabbed a guitar and I just started writing and working with some friends of mine, and did some schooling on how to write and some theory. And yeah, and it just became, dragged me right in, and now I'm, it's something I do every day, and right now there's 3 different songs going in my head in different levels of completion, and we're just releasing the first single now. But that's been 3 years in the making right there. So I guess most people don't understand that a lot of this product is, this song that is coming out is something I wrote the first time I was in Nashville recording an album with another band. And it's been this long to get to this stage, and everything's in different stages of completion, and it's quite a treadmill.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah, for sure. Now, what style of music do you perform?
I would say that I would call myself Americana, country rock, a singer-songwriter, definitely. I've been compared to guys like Chris Christopherson and John Prine. A not so good singing Chris Stapleton, just because Chris Stapleton, nobody sings like Chris. Another gentleman out of Nashville that I've just recently saw, a guy named Chris Canterbury. Yeah, I definitely would say that I sing from a viewpoint of a tortured soul. A lot of my songs are about struggle and about love, but about how tough it can be, to stay in love and be in love, and to certainly in this case with my next single, Springtime in Nashville, it was a story about an entertainer who has to make a choice between the people in his life and the thing that he loves the most. And I don't, as musicians know, it's a cruel mistress sometimes. And yeah, so a lot of my songs come from that perspective, for sure.
One of the things, when you mentioned like a torture, so one of the things that I realized, like, no matter whatever your talent is, when you have a talent, if you don't pursue it, there's always unhappiness somewhere inside, right?
Agreed. Yeah, I agree. I think that life's a balance. Everything should be a balance, but this particular pursuit will challenge that, because it takes everything, to really truly fulfill yourself. You really need to absorb yourself in it, and sometimes you have to be careful that you don't leave behind. I've always said that fame is the price, fortune is the prize. So when you see somebody that's out there and going, oh, he's a big country star, and look at him, he's flying around in jets and he's got tour buses, and a friend of mine told me this one time. He says, the first time someone goes to the bathroom on a tour bus, that's the last time it's sexy. But there's prices all those people have paid. And I'm fortunate. I've got a lovely wife that's been with me for 35 years, very supportive. But I've made compromises in my career as well to make sure that stayed intact. Yes. Some people don't do that. And that can definitely challenge you, because you could find yourself saying, wow, I got to where I was going, but look what it cost me. So to try to keep that in balance, I think, is important.
Yeah. I was just thinking I was reading about some of the stars, movie stars, and who they've been married to, who they dated, and it goes, sometimes the list is crazy, but then I think about their careers. How do you stay grounded, right? It's not easy. But having that supportive wife really, really makes a big difference, right?
Well, yeah, not believing your press kit too thoroughly either. You start believing your own press, that can get in the way of yourself. Bruce Springsteen said it best. He said, when I walk on stage, every note I play and every note I sing is the most important thing in the world at that moment. And at the same time, I realize it's only rock and roll and it doesn't matter at all. He says, if you can strike that balance mentally when you're standing on the stage, you're in the perfect spot. And I try to emulate that every night I play. It's very important to me when I play. Every note is 100%, and I give it all I've got, but I don't get too hung up on it if it doesn't work out exactly right, because in the end, everyone's going to go home after that, and they've got to go home to their lives and their things. And the fact that maybe my performance wasn't the best it's ever been, maybe isn't as important as somebody sitting in the audience that finally got to get away one night because their kid is sick, or their family members are going through trouble, or they're financially burdened, so they never get to go out. So for them to, what about those people in the audience? They're far more important collectively and individually, equally individually, and far more important collectively than anything I'm doing.
Right. Having said that, it makes me think about something like one of the things that I really, really appreciate with performers is when that they're singing to you. Because sometimes I see people performing this maybe locally and they never look up. They're just singing and playing, but they never look up at the audience. And I'm thinking, we're here,
Yeah.
Right?
Share it with us. I always think it's like somebody that paints paintings but leaves them up against the wall with the backs of the painting. You need art isn't art if it isn't shared. Now some people have difficulty doing that because they have to be so absorbed into it, and I'll see some people and I'll have to remind myself, hey, they're out there. So yes, it's very important to share it with people and let them in. They want to be let in, but most people don't feel comfortable sometimes to go. When you look at somebody in the audience, you'll see some people and they're really absorbing it, and other people, it's like, oh, he's looking at me. And going, yeah, I'm looking at you. I'm sharing this with you. I want to get your reaction. When that gets going back and forth, it's almost like inhaling and exhaling. Mm-hmm. So you've got that. Now you're getting this heartbeat that's going within the music. I've always a friend of mine, Tom Jackson, said this. Whatever you do, when you finish playing a song, if people applaud or they're cheering or whistling, never interrupt them. Like you'll always hear somebody and you'll finish the song and people will start saying, we appreciate you. And you'll go, thank you. And it's like, let them speak. That's their time to talk to you. And I look at great performers and they do that. And it's then all of a sudden you're getting this, like I say, there's this breathing going back and forth. And all of a sudden something starts happening with that live performance that people go, now they're having an experience. They just didn't come and hear some songs or see some dude in a funny hat playing a guitar. They had an experience, and that is what really creates true fans and makes those memories, and hopefully makes your songs unforgettable. I'm sure that you have a song that you remember from the first concert you ever went to.
I'm not a 60s person, so yeah.
Right with you, sister. So yeah, and you listen to those songs, and whenever they come on, it takes you back to that moment because you had an experience. So as artists, I think that's, and especially independent artists, when you sit down and play for these people, you want to give them experience so they will walk away going, that was something that I will remember.
Right. I can relate in a way that, like, when I do these interviews, I want people to feel good enough that they'd be willing to come back,
Oh, absolutely. Right? Yeah.
Now, you mentioned hats, and I kind of like that because I think you're a man of many hats, right?
Well, I would say philosophically, metaphorically, and literally. I've got a hat. I do have. Should be going to Hats Anonymous, but we just don't have one of them in my town. I've collected hats from all over North America, New York, and certainly one of my favorite hat places is Hatworks in Nashville on 8th. I don't know if you've ever been to Nashville, but they make custom hats, and beautiful store. And it's just something that I started getting into about 20 years ago. And I don't know. It's just one of those things. I'm follically challenged, as you can see. So I don't really get to do a lot of hair and makeup when I get ready. It's hat and makeup. And it's a lovely thing to collect, although my wife does sometimes go, where are we going to put the rest of these? between that and guitars, it's an interesting battle for sure.
When you mention guitars, it's another thing. Like I don't know how many musicians I've interviewed, and they all have, any of them that play a musical instrument usually have a number of those instruments hanging up on or leaning against their couch or something.
Yeah, well, there's a saying that says, if you know how many guitars you have, you don't have enough. I just went and visited a friend of mine in my hometown of Fort St. John, BC, and he's an ex-RCMP officer, and he heard that I was a musician, and he has 50 different guitars in his basement. and beautiful collection. It's just, you know, way above anything I can imagine. And I meet lots of people like that. They're just they're beautiful pieces of art. They do appreciate if you buy the right ones and you take care of them. So like I said, you could buy a Picasso, but it's really hard to get a song out of a Picasso.
Yeah, it's interesting because my last name is Guitar. It's my
yes,
and my sister and I were just talking yesterday. Said, why didn't we take up playing the guitar? You know, right?
Yeah, that would seem like a natural.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, I started as a teenager, but I just didn't stick to it. You know, because there was no. Like, I didn't grow up in a family where you were encouraged to do anything, you know, so it was really a tough one. But anyway, it would be fun, but, you know.
Well, in our time, too, there wasn't the resources there is now.
Oh.
I mean, it's so easy for me to learn a song now. I just and there it is. You know, I was back in the day of you had to pick up the needle and you played it and then you tried it and picked it up again, and you know, I wore out many albums doing that in my day for sure. So it is much easier than it was.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah. So now, do you have any events coming up? Like, well, this just so I should tell you, this will be airing in the next 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, actually, right now I've got a show with my old band that I played in the '80s with in my hometown of Fort St. John. We're getting together, and I'll be playing drums for a festival opening up for Randy Bachman, and Tanya Tucker actually is also on the bill.
Nice.
Coming all the way up. But this summer is dedicated to writing and traveling and doing some more radio and just trying to get spend some time on the single. And so I'm going to be doing that mostly. We're planning 3 single releases over the next year. And once those 3 have kind of gotten out there, we've got something more substantial than plans to head back to Nashville and work through Pierce Media and Big Records to get some chances to showcase there. And plus, I want to get home. I mean, as much as I love my other home, there's something about Nashville that feeds you. I mean, it would, if you were an actor, where would you want to live? You'd want to live in Los Angeles. Yeah. If you were, I don't know, whatever. If you wanted to be on Broadway, you'd live in New York. And when you're in Nashville, Tennessee, and anybody that's driving an Uber, you know, all you have to say is, "So what's the last song you wrote?" And they'll tell you. And it's just full of people that's the most important thing in their life. So it's very like-minded. It's very inspiring. It fuels me. You know, I'm not well known down there yet, so I work very hard to get on the playlists of places like the Bluebird and the Douglas Corner and wherever they'll take me. And been fortunate enough to play the Bluebird twice now, and continue to aspire to doing shows there. And there's kind of a nice thing about it, because there I'm very anonymous and nobody has really. I'm virtually unknown. So. As opposed to in Canada, where I will go places and I have a reputation. Yeah. I don't have any reputation there. So it's truly on the song. It's all leaning on the song and my performance. And there's no preconceived notion, which makes, as a songwriter, you go, all right, this is it. This is the first time they're going to hear you. Could be the last. Make it good. So those performances become very dear, and they become very, I don't know, very inspiring. So I love that part of it.
Very good. Yeah. What's the best way for anybody to get a hold of you if they wanted to have you?
If you want to get a hold of me, my website is ccbrooks.country.
Nice and
very simple. I love it. No .coms, just ccbrooks.country, or you can go to bigrecords.world, and I'm on their roster as well, and they can get a hold of me through there. And also, like I said, all my music, including my new single, will be available. My new single will be available July 7th.
Okay, very good. Well, on that note, we're going to end it there. Just stay on camera. I just want to say to the audience, so you've been listening to C.C. Brooks, and I'm going to include his site. So if you want to get a hold of him, if you're looking to hire a really good musician, he's your guy, right? Thanks, everybody, for watching the show. I hope you continue to do so. Take care and peace out.
a sense of community. Chilliwack's a place to be, a sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.